Hey everybody, it's Steve Garvin and Bernadette Geyer. We are here to talk about tone or personality and how does that come forward in your images and your words and creating the brand that you want to, that you'll be using to attract your ideal clients. So first of all, Bernadette, what is tone? What does that mean?
To me, tone is the type of words that you choose when you are talking with your clients or when you are creating text for your website or your blog posts or writing, the captions for your Instagram pictures.
Mm,
Um, and it's not just the type of words that you choose, but whether you are casual or whether you are very business-like. Um, and I kind of think about, I think about lawyers. They
mm,
have a very specific way that they talk to people, to talk to potential clients, and they have very specific tone that they take in like all their website texts and blog posts. Banks, the same exact thing. And the tone is very different from, like, say, the tone of a daycare center
mm.
or, a jump house or something like that. So um, you think about the type of words that people choose, and like lawyers, yesterday you mentioned jargon.
Right.
And you think about looking at a lawyer's website or an architecture firm or even like a big data company. They throw out these words that you may not understand. Um, and for me, my tone is like the anti-jargon tone, uh,
Mm,
because the type of clients that I'm looking at are, you know, mom and pops, small entrepreneurs who may be just starting out. So like people who don't already know all of the lingo, and I don't like to talk in terms of ROI and um, SaaS and all that.
mm, mm.
Probably they probably don't even say SaaS. They probably call it SaaS or
Right.
whatever. Um, but
Yep.
yeah, so tone is part of your brand, and it's part of how you communicate. So it's not just the words, but the way you present them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from a visual perspective, it's it's the type of images, the subject of the images that you're using. Is it and it's also the color
Yeah.
and, kind of how busy or minimalistic the image is. I mean, there's lots of ways to convey tone in an image. And it's, if you're like you think of the goth community, you may think of lots of black and kind of I don't know, death metal
Dark.
type stuff, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a dark mood. And if that's the type of person you're trying to attract, that's what the type of imagery you use.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're talking to moms, um, then there's more. You're going to include things that are more, you know, relevant to moms,
Yeah.
things around the home or, work-life balance or, your children and, that type of thing related to schools. And so it's going to affect your subject matter, the images that you capture or use. And it's also going to affect the colors and the tone that uh, that you use in order to evoke those ideas and carry on that conversation.
but but you also, yeah, when thinking about colors, you also need to be careful that your colors don't alienate, because like I know I'm a mom,
Mm-hmm.
but like I just completely reject like all pink stuff. um, try having a 7-year old. I mean, she's 11 now, but try finding black jackets for a 7-year old girl. um, you, you can't.
Right. And so that's
um,
Yeah, and kind of like with what you say with jargon, same type of thing with imagery is that you get a certain stereotype, you know
Yeah.
that that all moms look like this and all daughters look like this, and when
And
you
all dads are like this. And
right, and when you do that, you're likely going to miss part of your community. And also, honestly, it's one of the opportunities you have to um, to differentiate yourself. So if they've got is pink jackets, if you put out a black jacket or a blue jacket, like my daughter's favorite color is actually blue.
yeah.
um, you know and I don't know if you can see this well, but I made this bracelet over the weekend, and made it with blue and everything, and
Yeah.
my daughter's like, oh, that's so cool, and she wanted one, so I made her one. And
Oh, great.
not like this, but different. Hers has got like a dolphin on it and so forth. But
Okay.
it's just different things that they resonate with. Whoops, almost lost that. And I don't know if she has. I guess she's had a pink backpack, but there is not a whole lot of pink in her life. But
Yeah. But yeah, so colors definitely, like if you are a if you do yoga, if
mhm,
you're a yoga teacher, you like to have soothing colors. You're not going to be like, come to my relaxing yoga classes and then have like electric purple and yellow and bright orange and green and like all of these crazy zigzag patterns. Like you're going to have certain types of images that really convey the mood you're you're offering to your customers.
yeah, and going off of that, again, you get kind of the stereotype with. It seems like I don't know what percentage, but there's a high percentage of yoga and meditation centers that have got a lotus of some sort in their
Yes.
imagery.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool, but it's so ubiquitous that it's like it's really hard to differentiate. How do
Yeah.
you create something that's memorable when you got the same thing that everybody else in the world is using?
Yeah.
You know,
And yeah, and that's definitely something to keep in mind. And like when you're going for establishing your brand image, it's it's totally helpful to look around at your competitors. What do they look like? How do you differentiate yourself? And maybe you are like the goth yoga teacher, or instead, like if you do like what's the hot yoga, the one where you're like really sweating,
right? Yeah, I
like
don't know the term for it, but yeah,
I forget,
the hot
but
yoga. I know what you mean.
yeah, the hot yoga. Maybe you play, White Snake and death
Mm-hmm.
metal. Maybe that's your differentiator, and
Right.
tone is going to be different. Um,
How does that carry out in your words, in your choice of words?
oh, well, I obviously avoid jargon.
Hmm.
I try to explain things very plainly, and actually that's also sort of, this kind of ties in with my poetry. Is I've typically liked to say things very clearly, but in a way that all of the tens and hundreds of hours of work that I put into like one single poem, it sounds very natural. It doesn't sound like, oh, she spent 100 hours trying to flip through her thesaurus to find 10 different ways of saying dark,
Right.
isn't just the word dark. So I kind of, that's my tone, is very straightforward, not really flowery or jargony. I talk to people not really like a teacher, but I have done a lot of teaching, so I like to just kind of put things in a way that people will really understand them, and that they won't feel like, oh, she's the teacher, I'm just the dumb student, I don't know anything. It's, you already know, a lot of what I'm going to talk about. It's just I'm helping you realize that you've understood that all along.
Mm, yeah.
So that's kind of
Um,
the tone. What is your tone?
so the tone that I try to convey is one somewhat playful. So I use a lot of the color palette that I use in my business has a very bright, well, deep yellow, and then some purple and blue and so forth, and then that kind of gives a playful nature to it.
Yeah.
Um, and also I do a lot of cartooning and so forth, and so a lot of like my logo is a cartoon bee and so forth. It's just kind of playful, but I also want to represent the idea of kind of um, wisdom and knowledge and expertise and so forth. And so it's kind of a balance between the two. Um, and honestly, for quite a while, it was a bit of a struggle for me. Like, being playful and fun doesn't go along with being intellectual and wise and all that. But and honestly, that was just kind of a bias that I had, kind of growing up, that, if I'm going to be thought of as being an intellectual, then I can't be playful. And honestly, all that did for me is get me really, really sick. Um, and so, embracing that playful side of me, but also bringing in, all the research and different things that I do that is just fun. And so you'll see cartoon images right alongside graphs and things where I'm and numbers and different things to emphasize different areas.
Well, and that's why I like the fact that the name of this group is the Art of Entrepreneurship, because there's all the multiple meanings of the word art.
Mm-hmm.
And you do bring in so much of the playfulness of the artistic approach.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that the words, you can have a word that has these multiple meanings that brings a lot of nuances in. And then it also has that fun tone to it, because, art is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you can totally like getting around some of my artistic friends and we talk about paper or pens or whatever. We get so geeky about like, well, what kind of pen are you? And lots of
What weight is this paper? Is it gloss? How many?
right, exactly. It's a yeah, and it has a huge impact, as some of you have seen. And when I've used paper that wasn't ideal, um, but yeah, but there is, and it really is. That it's art, that there is a science to it. I mean, think about Leonardo da Vinci. He was very much an artist, but he was also an engineer and a
Yeah.
city planner and an architect, and I imagine he played a lot. And I also look at Einstein. Some of my favorite images of him are when he's riding his bicycle, or his hair's like friggin' all over the place, or you know, playing the violin or whatever. Just it, those two things definitely can coexist.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So
So tone. So what is the challenge for our folks today?
so talking about play, today is really about having some fun and going back to days 1 and 2, and looking at what your mission is, who your people are, and what kind of words can you play with. What's the vocabulary that you want to be using in order to attract the people and to make that connection with people.
And it even gets down to it affects your emails to people. Do
Mm-hmm.
you address them as Mr. Bradford, or do you say like Dear Bob? Um,
Or you just say
and
hi Joe or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
hey.
Right. Hey. But yeah,
Yeah.
and the same thing
So
with the visuals is that you've got a verbal vocabulary and you've also got a visual vocabulary. What kind of images are you going to be using? What kind of colors and textures and so forth are you going to be using in order to convey your ideas and communicate and just gather some things together. Again, we kind of talked about collaging and so forth,
yeah.
but one of the reasons I like sites like Pinterest, and I am a heavy user of Pinterest, and I've got 10,000 plus pins on my board. uh, uh, is just because you can collect a lot of different imagery together. And I also am a heavy user of when I find an image on Google Images, I'll make sure that I look at the related images for it too, and see what
Okay.
other kinds of stuff comes up. Um,
Yeah.
and when it comes to words, how do you find inspiration for?
Ooh, wow, that's really tough. I think for me, it's just really speaking aloud,
Hmm,
um, and imagining conversations
huh,
with my target clients. Um, and when I write my blog posts, that's practicing my tone. So
hmm,
I write a lot. I write blog posts, I write newsletter articles. Um, I write a lot of social media posts. So that, over the years, I have just refined my tone just by writing and writing and writing it out.
yeah. Now I
So,
imagine, I don't know if so. There's lots of books, there's lots of posts, there's lots of you know information out there, and one of the things, and I used to do a fair amount of writing, and I still do, honestly, do a fair amount of writing, and one of the things that I like is that writers read. You know,
yeah,
expose yourself to great works of literature. And I can look and I am not one to say, well, the 100 books you need to read by the time you die or is
yeah,
whatever, because one, that's what I say, and that's not necessarily fits you. But find those books that do speak to you.
yeah.
What kind of languages, what kind of language are they using? What's the vocabulary and so forth.
Well, and I guess, look at competitor sites as well. Think
Hmm.
about the tones that they're using. And are they going after your ideal client? Do they sound the way you want to sound, or do you feel like you are very different? um, and I get a lot of inspiration. I talk about sparring partners, like finding a
Hmm.
sparring partner, and I always feel like your competitor is like your best sparring partner,
Hmm.
because um, you can look at what they're doing and figure out, that's that's not me. How am I different from that? And then you kind of look at what they're doing, and then step back away, and use your own words. Think about, it. Like we yesterday was getting our target client visualized. Um, and then think about your tone, think about how you speak with your target clients. And I would love to see what people will be posting for their thoughts on their tone, and notes about, do they want to use jargon, are they going for an air of authority. Maybe write down, uh, what is the specific tone that you want to convey. Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be an authority? Do you want to just be fun? Do you want to be like a confidant? Um, do you want to convey relaxation or efficiency? So kind of make notes like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, it's getting clear on who you are and who your ideal client is, so that you find the language and the imagery that connects those two things.
Definitely. And the colors, like
Yeah,
you had mentioned colors, and colors is part of tone.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Color. I mean, think about walking into a red room or a blue room or a black room or whatever, and each one of those, just by walking into those different rooms, creates a very different experience. Um, it's what's the kind of room that you want to be walking into, and what do you want to see on the walls, and
Yeah.
so forth. Um,
If your business was a room, what color would it be?
right. Yeah. What would it look like? And what would be the words? What would be the posters and things
Yeah.
around the room? Yeah. So
Good.
um, anyway, uh, that is it for day 3. We look forward to seeing what you have to say in the comments below,
Yep.
and we will catch you on day 4 tomorrow.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.